Former number one tennis player in the world. Always one of my favorite interviews. Martina Navratilova joining us on the show. What was your reaction when you heard this, Martina, that Jason Collins had come out?
Well, hey, Dan, not surprised. I figured it would be by the end of the year before a male major leaguer comes out because the climate has changed so much. I figured it was only a matter of time, not if, but I didn't realize it would happen this quickly. But not that surprised, just really happy that it finally has happened, and now, it can become a lesser deal.
Is he a hero, Jason Collins?
Well, he's a hero because he's the first one. It's always hindsight. People would say, "Oh, I could have done that. I could have done," but they didn't. He's the one that took that first step, and it is a big step because all the major leagues that have come out before, they had retired already, and this just becomes that much more relevant and that much more important, particularly for kids growing up that may doubt their sexuality. Kids. Over a third of teenage suicides is over their sexuality. So I know that this is going to save some lives. It's going to make a lot of kids feel more at ease with themselves and validate them, and that's huge.
Could he have done this 20 years ago?
Well, he could have. It would have been more difficult because I think now the front office, the politics have changed so much, the climate has changed so much that it's almost not politically correct to be against gays, no matter what. I mean, it's not okay to be a homophobe anymore. It was okay 20 years ago. It was celebrated maybe as little as 10 years ago. Reggie White was a big time anti-gay activist in his day, and the NFL totally supported him in that. So times have changed a lot on every level, and now it's not okay to be a homophobe, and they'll make it that much easier for the next ones to come out now, which is great.
Why is it that men don't seem to care that women come out? You had Brittany Griner, best player, college player.
Yeah. Well, I think with women, it's always been assumed that if you're a really good athlete, you must be a lesbian, and so women almost have to prove their heterosexuality when they're in these sports, and they have to proclaim it. I think there was a softball player, I can't think of her name now. She was the captain of the U.S. softball team back in Atlanta, and she wrote a book saying, "Oh, I'm straight. Look at me, I'm straight." So it's almost assumed that you're gay, and particularly in basketball, volleyball, softball, tennis not so much. But still, there was no way a reporter would have asked a male player, "Are you gay?" in the 80s or the 70s. Yet they were free enough to ask me that, which is weird. So it starts with that. Maybe they're afraid that they would get, their head blown off if they ask the guy, whereas the woman just say no or yes or whatever. So it's funny that, but the culture has changed so much that yes, it's much easier to come out now, but still, Jason is a hero because he's the first one. He's a pioneer.
Martina Navratilova joining us, Dan Patrick Show. But when you were asked about being gay, what was your reaction to that? What was your answer to that at the time?
Well, way back, I said, that's a private thing. I'm not going to talk about my sexuality one way or the other. I also couldn't really say I was gay because I was still, in 75, I defected, and I had my green card. I was waiting for my citizenship, which happened in 81. That was a disqualifier for a citizenship. They could have said, no, we're not going to let you be an American citizen because you're gay. So I had to kind of stay in the closet. I didn't lie. I just didn't say anything. I said, I'm not going to talk about it, or I'm not going to answer a question. Finally, when I was able to talk about it, I did, and I never had an issue with it. It was the people around that have an issue with it, and that's why it cracks me up when people say, "Why do you have to talk about it? Why do you have to proclaim and publicize this sexuality?" Well, we're not publicizing it. It's just we don't have to lie about it anymore. I don't want it to be a big deal, but it is because we don't have equal rights. We are discriminated against. 39 states in this country can fire you just for being gay. No other reason. So discrimination is still written into the books. It's in the laws. We can't get married yet. Things are going that direction, but we still don't have it, which is why people like Jason Collins coming out make a difference in the right direction.
How many endorsements do you think you lost when you came out?
Well, I just didn't get any. It's not how many I lost. It's just I didn't get any. I only had deals really that related to tennis, shoes, rackets, and clothing. I had some outside deals with companies outside of the U.S., but in America, I did not get one major deal.
But do you think this came down, though, Martina? It was
sorry?
you against Chrissy, like Chrissy Everett, that she was straight, girl next door, and here you were, Martina, from another country, and you were a lesbian.
Yeah. Well, that didn't help. I mean, that already, was the aggressive-looking, come from a communist country. Now she's a capitalist. I mean, I went from a communist, godless country to Beverly Hills. Lived with my manager, and it was a pretty big turnaround. But being gay certainly didn't help. As my manager used to say, the corporate boardroom would go silent when my name was brought up. Madison Avenue. I'm the persona non grata, which is ironic because I left Czechoslovakia because of their system there, and I was a persona non grata there, and then I became one here because I was gay. So I was like, oh, give me a break. I just want a home team somewhere.
Well, tougher to come from another country or to be lesbian?
Well, I never had an issue with it, but it was the people around. It was the general public. It was the media. But it is who you are. I mean, it's just who you are, and you either deal with it or you don't. And hopefully you can deal with it. Hopefully your family and friends will support you, and which makes life a lot easier. And nowadays, it's just not okay to be a homophobe, which makes a huge difference.
But I think the big concern, and a lot of this is, people who aren't educated, that they feel like if there's somebody who's gay or lesbian in the locker room, well, they're going to be hitting on them.
Oh, please.
Was there a reaction to that on the tennis tour when?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. I mean, the women, you're in the locker room. It's not a sexual situation. It's the straight people that really want to sexualize this orientation. It's really funny. The gay people don't think about it as sex. It's just, this is who I am, and then maybe you're interested in that person or you fall in love with that person. But it's the straight people that make it all about sex, and it's peculiar because in the locker room, it's the least sexual place there is, at least in the women's locker room, and nobody cares. I remember telling a couple of players, can you please put some clothes on? Because they're like ironing their clothes, in the buff. I'm like, come on, put some clothes on. Don't really want to watch people parading around in the nude. But it's like no big deal. Nobody really cared one way or the other. Nobody would ever hit on anybody. I've never seen anything inappropriate.
And I keep waiting for, it's one thing that Jason Collins comes out, and he's a journeyman. People, aren't really familiar with him from a sports perspective, but the NFL that's the final frontier here. When do you think that happens, and the reaction of the NFL and its fans and the media to a football player coming out?
I think the fans ultimately, they just want to make sure that that guy can play. That's the ultimate divider and decider there. Can he throw? Can he catch? Can he tackle? Can he block? That's the bottom line. I think if it's the team winning, are they playing well? Are they trying hard? That's all about that. I think sexual orientation should be completely irrelevant, and hopefully one day it will be.
One day you won't get a phone call from people with this story,
We'll talk about something else. Hallelujah.
Exactly. No, but then you'll know that there is acceptance or we've moved on with it when you don't get phone calls. But look,
exactly.
Love hearing from you. Always love your perspective. Thank you, Martina.
All right. Thanks for having me, Dan. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Martina Navratilova.